this is gonna be the first ASMR video on my channel, which is pretty terrible to think of, to see how far down I've gone. I'm sitting on the floor of my bedroom right next to my standalone PC, and to be honest, it's pretty cozy because I've got like a neat little rug that's made out of fake fur, very fluffy. I don't normally make videos like this where I voice over art. I usually prefer to just have it where it's standalone and you could just vibe to the music and maybe whatever I'm drawing on the screen. But this is sort of a special occasion because it has been like around 3 years since I've last updated things on this channel. So just a few things before I go on to the actual meat of the video, which is just like a typical voiceover. First things first, I have to credit OSP in this video because while I was sitting down for an hour to make this illustration, I was basically listening to the OSP summary of the Count of Monte Cristo, and that was the only thing that kept me entertained for like the hour, 2 hours it took to complete this thing. I love red so much. Anyways, I also have to credit the person who made the music, or people. This is from Lily Pichu's Comfy Beats channel. I just watch her pretty often. She's like everybody's comfort streamer, and it's no different for me too. So yeah, I have her piano in the background, and all the credits will be in the description as well. As well as throughout the video, I'll be using a brush set from my favorite artist ever, Night Zhang / Aruseli. She is really cool, and back in her Tumblr, she also has like a little Dropbox link to her brush set that she's compiled. Might not be like reflective of what she uses currently, but I've been using this brush set for the past 4 years and it's been doing me pretty well. Basically just look to the description if you're curious about anything and everything. Just to start off and describe what I'm actually drawing. So the idea came to me after feverishly looking through a bunch of fan art of MLP related fan art, and I was like, oh my god, I would just absolutely love to draw Twilight Sparkle. And not only her, but also Sunset Shimmer. And yeah, that was the initial plan, because I was like, I just need something to practice shading with, so I wanted the subject to be like something I could enjoy looking at for 2 hours straight. And it just happened to be on my mind. So you'll see later on, or actually I think it already passed in the clip, I initially intended to have 2 figures in the drawing, but I removed the second one, and I just did not want to render 2 figures or make this like an entire illustration piece. So I just kept it to 1 person, and stuck to Twilight Sparkle. Yeah, that's basically it. Okay, yeah, here's the second figure that I'm trying to draw. Yeah, so my initial sketches are basically like not just a sketch, they also function as line art for me, because I really hate doing line art and I just choose to skip that step of the process entirely. And this sort of functions better for the way that I end up making illustrations as well, because I really hate having really clean, well-defined lines that one, take a lot of time to make, and secondly, like, just look really stiff and don't have like an organic feel that my initial sketches normally have. So whenever I paint over line art, it never turns out that well, in my opinion. So I just prioritize like putting down everything I need to and cleaning up my sketches as I go as much as I can before I start laying down colors. And I think a lot of people do this as well, but like maybe people might supplement this with an actual stage where they do have line art, but it's not as like defined and constrictive is the word that I'm looking for. And those illustrators I really admire because it's like their line art could just be the final piece itself, but at the same time they leave enough room for adding color, and I want to learn how to do that. Finally started laying down color after I realized I'm not gonna have the patience to paint in 2 different people in one canvas. That's not what I'm doing today. I don't really know what the function of doing this is because I later ended up not even using the shadows I put down with this like cell shading method, but I think it's more or less just for me to give myself like a visual outline of where I would probably want the light to be coming from. Okay, so at this point, I knew that with this piece, I wanted to test out more softer shading methods involving gradients, because I think gradients in digital art can be really awesome if they're used properly. And I think the best time to put them into an illustration is at the very beginning, rather than, you know, at the very end when you're trying to add like lasting touches. In the beginning, if you use gradients to figure out how your colors will transition in the illustration, you'll just have an easier time figuring out what colors belong where when you're shading later on in the meat of the illustration process. So I sort of did that with the skirt, and I guess with the purple undercover, I know there's like a term for it with like when you actually paint, there's like a layer of color that you put down first, maybe to set the mood of the painting or whatever. I don't know. That's probably what I meant to do with the purple thing, actually. Yeah, it's coming back to me now. In the past, I used to just leave this as the final piece because I was like, if I try to render this thing to its entirety, I'm not gonna know how to take care of like those little gray areas where there's just like a bunch of line art stacked into a corner where there's supposed to be shadow or detail that I don't know how to render. But now I would say like I looked forward to figuring out and solving those little problems on the canvas where it's like I put down some line art in the sketch earlier, or like some detail in the sketch, and now I have to figure out how I'm gonna render this with color, you know, shadow and light and hue. And yeah, it's just interesting because in this illustration I did end up having to look up some references specifically for less for the hair and face, but more for her shirt, because I'm notorious for like not knowing how to shade just like simple objects, and with collared shirts that's like the bane of my existence because there's like so many, you have to like for them to look good, in my opinion, you sort of have to know how to use the right balance of soft shading method with harder strokes. Yeah, here's where I sort of try to fix that, where I just put a giant blob of paint and then carve stuff out underneath. So that was actually a pretty quick way to solve that problem, because normally I would have just gone at it with a hard brush and tried to carve out what I thought was the layers of the shirt, but this looks way better, and it took less time too, so feel free to take that tip. The face is also like notoriously difficult. It's like hands. Usually things with a lot of planes in them that look the simplest to draw are the hardest to actually render if you want to render them to the best of your ability. I had to build a visual library by just looking at how other artists that I admire go about defining the planes of the face in different lightings, and the main focal point I would use for that is just like the cheekbone. Everything else you could sort of mush around with gradient transitions and just a little bit of carving out, but like figure out where the cheekbones are and the nose as well, and then just do whatever you want from there. I think that's like my best tip for figuring out how to paint a face. Especially proud of myself for this part. The reason being, hands are also really difficult for me, especially to color. I have this one piece where I drew Matthew Patel from Scott Pilgrim, and I was really, really happy about how the hands turned out. And I learned a few things about sort of simplifying the planes. So in this one, I'm happy with how I sort of use the knuckle as an anchor point. A lot of the characters that I draw end up having piercings, so that's a little fun tidbit of knowledge to have. Yeah, look at how I rendered those hands, man. Oh my god, I'm so proud of myself. And the veins, oh. I just fiddle around with blending modes because it's been a while since I had the chance to do that. And yeah, that's like the completed piece. I don't think I provided any helpful commentary, but like, I really enjoyed drawing it and listening to Monte Cristo summarized. And hopefully I'll be able to pump out more videos soon. Thank you.